Hey there, thanks for stopping by my channel to color. Today we are going to be coloring this adorable Greg Shy Bear from Lili of the Valley. This is a digital image and it's available in their Etsy shop. I'll go ahead and put a link to that and all the supplies I use down in the description box in case you would like to pick anything up. I'm going to be using my Winsor Newton portable palette today to do my painting, and I'm going to mix all the colors in the lid. So I don't have all the colors that I used. I didn't keep track of that. I just kind of smeared them around in the lid of my palette over there and mixed browns and some reddish browns and some black and just get whatever colors I wanted. So I started out by getting my bear wet. I'm doing the same thing here with the door, and then I'm just going in and adding a light layer of color over the entire surface so that it will start my first layer. You want to be really careful when you're doing your watercoloring to not touch anything that you want to keep the colors away from. So when I went around the little bear's hand there, I was really careful not to touch my wet area to that wet area, otherwise it's going to bleed together and make a big mess. Unless you're going for that color, definitely wait for it to dry or leave a little bit of white space around the edges when you go close to something. So here I'm coming in with a second layer of some darker browns that I mixed in my palette, and the bear's still wet, so it's just very lightly spreading out, and I kind of used my brush to spread it out a little bit more, and it faded out just perfect. On the door it's a little bit drier, so it's only going as far out as I wet the paper with my brush to add those lines. And I'm really liking that look, so I'm going to leave it like that so that it's got those really sharp edges. But you just want to make sure when you're going next to other wet things that it is dry, or that unless you want it to have bleed through there. And then I decided it was a little bit too sharp, so I'm just taking some water and my paintbrush and I'm softly bringing that color out onto the door. Here I'm adding a third layer of brown paint that I added a little bit of reddish tones to. Again, I'm just wiping that around with my wet paintbrush and getting it all over my bear to make it a nice soft adjustment. Here my paper's still wet, so I'm coming in and I'm adding a little bit darker brown to my door, and I'm letting it fade out into those crevices that are already wet, so it's feathering really nicely. I really like how it looks. And again, be really careful when you're doing your painting that you don't do things that are wet right next to other wet things. Here we'll add our first coat of our black to our door handle. Then I went off and I let everything dry, and I'm coming back and I'm adding a second layer to my door handle. That was a little too dark, so I got my paintbrush wet and I used that to just smear that black around and soften it up. We're going to add yet another color of brown, or coat of brown, to our bear. And if you're interested in doing this bear as a class over on my Teachable website, make sure and leave me a comment down below, and I will go ahead and reshoot the video and do it in real time with explanations of every little step so that we can do it together. I would love to do that if you're interested, so just make sure and leave me a comment down below and I will work on that. So now that the door's dry, I went ahead and I'm adding some red to my bow. I decided I wanted to have the red bow and then we're going to have a purple heart. You could totally do it a different direction or a different color, but I thought the red would be really pretty on that door handle. I'm going in with a really light brown to color in his little face there, and then I'm using some red, and it was really red. So I went ahead and got a bunch of water on my paintbrush and I just dabbed it up and then spread it out so that it would turn a light pink color. Same for my little rabbit. I used my black paint, but I diluted it a bunch with water, so it's just got a little bit of paint on there, and I used that to work it around and make it nice and smooth. Here I'm getting the background wet. I'm just using water and I'm spreading it out as far as I want it to go. I'm going to grab some blue, and to the blue I added a little bit of water too, so it's really diluted, and I'm just spreading it out into the entire area that I got wet. Then I'm going in with a little bit of a darker blue, and I'm dabbing that along the edge of the bear so it'll be darker along there, and I'm just letting the water feather it out so it's nice and textured. We'll darken up the muzzle on the bear, more darker on our little bow here. It's all about letting it dry and then coming back and adding more layers as you go. It's not it's very forgiving if you just be patient. I get really impatient and don't want to wait for it to dry, so sometimes I'll use my heat tool and I will blast it with my heat tool real quick so it's dry and then move to the next section. But it does get a totally different look if you just let it dry naturally than it does if you use your heat tool. So just something to consider when you are doing your painting, whether or not you want to wait and wander off and come back and add more layers later, or you want to blast it with your heat tool and then just continue on. So here we add another layer for our entire bear. Kind of adding a little bit there to my little nose. I decided it was going to be a pinkish red color too. And I added some water for my heart, and we're going to make that purple. So I started out by diluting my purple with some water, and I'm just spreading that on there. And then I'm coming back with a little bit darker or a more concentrated application. Here I'm adding a little bit of that black that I diluted from my rabbit along the edges of my door so that it has some shadows in there. And I'm going to do the same thing for this little piece of trim that's on the wall back there. So I'm using really light black paint, and then I'm coming in with just some of the mixed paint I already have on my palette. I don't even know what color that was. It's kind of a blackish brown color mixed in there, and just made that shadow on my trim over there. Here I'm adding some more purple, and I decided it really wasn't that purple, so I added a little bit of black to it so that it would be even darker. Here I'm getting the floor wet, and again the door is dry, so I don't have to worry about any of that. And I'm just going to lay down some rust colored paint to make some flooring or some carpet or whatever you want to do. You can also go ahead and add some lines in there, and you can make it look like wood flooring if you wanted, but I didn't go that technical. I just went ahead and added some color on the floor so it looked different than the door. Now I'm going back and I'm darkening up a few things, and then I let it all dry, and I think it looks pretty good. I'm going to use it as a card and maybe send it to a friend. But you just keep fiddling with it until you get all the colors as dark as you want, adding shadows wherever you want those to go, and in the end you will come up with something different every single time. So there is our finished bear. I'm going to go ahead and peel off all the tape that I put on there. I probably could have went without that, but I wasn't sure how far out I was going to go with my lines. Anyway, I hope you had fun coloring with me today. If you have a question, leave me a comment down below and I'll make sure to get back to you. If you'd like to see close-up photos or details on the card, head over to the store blog and you can see that there. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed the video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Here you go are a couple of new videos that I thought you might be interested in. If you'd like to see any of those, go ahead and click on those and it'll take you straight to the video. Otherwise, I hope you are having a fabulous day and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.